Welcome to the Smarter Science of Slim, the scientifically proven program where you eat more and exercise less to burn fat and boost health.
Eat smarter, exercise smarter, live better. I am so ready for that.
Hey everyone, Jonathan Bailor back with another bonus Smarter Science of Slim podcast. Very cool show for you today. We have a unique guest. Really, her history and her story is incredibly intriguing to me, and how she got to where she is today and how that influenced her approach. Like, I'm very curious to unpack that story with you. And here's what I'm talking about. So she's got a doctorate in psychology, which is really neat, and she spent years working as a casework therapist and a vice president of Family Outreach, which is a nonprofit organization for the prevention of child abuse and neglect. And now she's taking that and she's working much more with nutrition, much more with inflammation, much more how nutrition, inflammation, and the foods you eat work together. She is a life coach and a counselor that is integrating all of this formal training, this social work, this nutrition passion, and she's a really friendly, smiley lady. So I said, let's get Dr. Lori Shemek on the show to share that really cool journey. Dr. Lori, welcome to the show.
Hi, Jonathan. Thank you very much. It's an honor to be here. As you know, I appreciate it.
Well, Dr. Lori, just to get started, can you please take us through your story, what led you up to today? Because it is not the typical path. Right. No, it isn't.
Well, let's see. I can go back to when I was, it all started, as it does for most of us, in my childhood. And I remember my mother being sick most of my childhood. And she was a beautiful woman, and she was a model, and very young when she got married, and she was very young when she had me, just 19 years old. So as her life went on, and after I was born, she had two more children. Her lifestyle choices created an unhealthy life for her. And so I remember, as a young girl, walking into her bedroom, and seeing her just laying there suffering from one thing or another. And always wondering, and thinking, intuitively knowing that she could make different choices, but she didn't. So she was very overweight. She smoked heavily. She ate poor foods. And in fact, she wouldn't let us eat those foods. So she was eating things like coffee cake and sugar, and lots of sugar in her coffee. And you know how it goes. So, as time went on, she became less able to take care of us, and I actually took over taking care of my two younger brothers, and her health actually spiraled downward as time went on. And this whole time, she's a single mother of three young children, and as a young girl, I was always looking to. I was always reading medical journals or books or nutrition, even as a very young child. She would walk by and just shake her head. There she goes again. And but I remember one day she bought a bottle of vitamins and she put it on her dresser. And I remember every day I would walk into her room and check to see if she had taken a vitamin. Well, she never did. And that vitamin bottle just sat there on that dresser for a long time. And I continued to look for a while, but eventually I stopped looking. And then one day, at the very young age of 36, she passed away and left three young children without anywhere to go, really. So that was my moment, if you will, in my life, because I knew that she could have made different choices. And it spurred a career choice in me. At that point, it was psychology. After I graduated, I went to college and got my doctorate in psychology and started counseling. And that was my personality is like the helping profession. Mm-hmm. We all have this, we want to help people get better. during my time with my clients at Family Outreach, I actually started creating nutritional customized analysis for my clients. And I was actually doing this for friends and family friends and people of people, you know. And it changed the way they behaved, my clients behaved. It changed their focus, how they viewed their life, their self-esteem, even their children, okay? So here they are, they're making healthier nutritional choices, and their children were not crazy like they were before, running around misbehaving. Things were better for them. And so I one day decided that my true love was helping people and health. So I decided to combine the two. And that is why I do what I do. So my mother, bless her heart, she's the one who motivated me in that way.
Dr. Lori, I so appreciate you sharing this story. I can imagine it's a little difficult to share, but I didn't even actually realize the depths of the challenges you faced. And there's two things that I wanted to focus on from that story. And the first is, what strikes me the most is it would have been very easy for you in your circumstance. Like my impression, based on the work I see you doing, is that you took that experience and you said, never again. Not for me and not for anyone else.
Exactly.
But it would have been very easy for you to say, poor me. And to continue that cycle. So, but rather you did what Stephen Covey calls become a transition person. You said, I'm going to take this negative circumstance and I'm going to use it to ensure that it never happens to anyone else to the best of my ability. Why? What do you think, since you experienced it personally, some people take the path of never again and some people take the path of poor me?
I think it's how open you are to the experience, how you look at all facets of an experience. Because I was looking at my mother really, even through young eyes, objectively. And, you know, thinking, here I am as her daughter, trying to live a healthier life, seeing her make these unhealthy choices. And so part of it, I believe, is something that's within us, that's not given to us. It's something that we are able to see. Because my brother, on the other hand, was just the opposite. He was the poor me. And so I think it's just the ability. I also think it has a lot to do with childhood resilience. People who are resilient as children tend to fare better in life, and make better decisions. Not that I've made the best decisions in my whole life, but it has helped, overall.
Dr. Lori, do you, in your training as a psychologist and as a counselor, are there things that an individual can do? Because I'm thinking of this ability to transcend circumstance and then to quote unquote use them, not necessarily to our advantage, but in some ways, like if someone who is goes through what you went through and then can show, like, look, I transcended this. That's a powerful example, and that's in some ways you were given an opportunity which you then took and now inspire others with. And especially when it comes to health, we've all heard individuals who have breast cancer and they live through it, and that inspires us because they transcended something. So is there something we can do if we're in a position of ill health or significant overweight where we can start to see that almost as an opportunity? Because if you drop 100 pounds healthfully, you're going to inspire some people.
Oh, yes. Absolutely.
So how do we shift that mindset from I'm a victim to I have an opportunity to not only change my life, but to change others as well?
Well, I like to look at, and I don't know, this is a very broad topic, but we now know that we have 90% control of the outcome of our health genetically, okay? Now, that's from a mindset point of view. Even though it's a physical point of view, we actually do have control of our gene expression. So, and that includes the thoughts we think and the outcome of our health, whether positive or negative. So, going back to, the person, for example, who's 100 pounds overweight, or any obstacle we may encounter, one small, tiny step at a time is the way to go. because it instills not just confidence, but it instills also motivation as well.
It also seems like there must be a virtuous cycle there where when you on Monday, you can say, I did this and I succeeded.
Yes.
And then on Tuesday, I did this and I succeeded. And then you start to have a bunch of references that help you to believe that you can be successful moving forward.
Right. And I like to tell my clients that, weight loss is just a number, okay, in the end, because a lot of people focus on that. But I like to get them to focus on the journey of it. And I know the word journey has been overused a lot, but it really is a path you're on. And if you look at it as a day by day, as opposed to that end result, because, let's face it, we Americans love everything done immediately. It has to be done now. So any type of weight loss, any obstacle, and that includes myself. If I have a project that I need to do, I take tiny steps toward that, the completion of that goal, or overcoming that obstacle, for example.
Lori, the other thing that seems key here is the small step approach seems infinitely more focused on the long term, because it seems like everyone's lost weight at some point in time. The issue is not losing weight temporarily, it's being healthy and staying fit long term.
Yes, it's about consistency and truly, and I like to hammer this one home a lot. It's about valuing yourself, really. If you value yourself, if you feel that you are worthwhile enough to have optimal health, then you will take the steps necessary. Because if you think about it, even though for example, that candy bar is not good for you, but you eat it anyway, that means then that you're not valuing your health enough to take that small step, to take a small step. So it's all about self-worth in the end. It really is.
Dr. Lori, I'm encouraged also. I'm curious if you saw, or if this was a motivation for you in the area of helping people to just live better. There's so many things in life that we have really no control over, right? Like for our professional pursuits, if you're like athletics, there's a bunch of politics. Other people have to do things. We depend on other people. But like the candy bar example you just gave, at the end of the day, I cannot think of anything that we have more control over in this world than how we move our own body and what we put in our mouth. Like that seems to be the one thing, or one of the few things we actually do have control over.
And and it's also too about knowledge. So yes, we have control, but we have to have the knowledge about, for example, there's a vast difference in the way the body metabolizes a 100-calorie candy bar, for example, versus 100 calories of broccoli. So, it's really about knowledge, putting it all together. And so I like to, make sure that people are really knowledgeable and educated in terms of nutrition, because then they can make the best choices.
And Dr. Lori, what have you seen to be the biggest obstacles in your class? That's also been my experience. People say, well, isn't this just a willpower problem? And I say, no, because no mother gives her child cigarettes. Why?
Right.
Because she knows they're bad for their child. So what are the biggest information barriers you've seen in your practice?
I believe it's the media and the food manufacturers. Because, if you look at sugar, for example, it's in almost every product. And we now know, recent research has shown that sugar is literally addictive as morphine or cocaine. And so, people, they're like, I can't get off sugar, I'm so addicted. Well, we all knew, you and I knew this years ago, that it was an actual addiction. Well, they've confirmed that. And now people are paying attention to sugar. But this is the problem. Is the food manufacturers, they knew this, and so they're waiting there, they're standing there waiting for you to buy this product, whatever it is. And so it's a big money business. Sugar is highly addictive, highly inflammatory, white flour, and even the complex carbs as well.
Dr. Lori, and do you see there being because you you started going down that path. Like once we acknowledge that sugar has these consequences on the body, it's impossible to then not acknowledge that, for example, a slice of whole wheat bread actually does more of that than 2 tablespoons of sugar, even though it's a quote unquote whole wheat.
Right. Exactly. For example, flour tortillas, Mexican flour tortillas, have a lower glycemic index than say, whole wheat bread. So you think whole wheat bread, oh, that's healthy. That has fiber in it, right? It's a whole grain. Well, it's different because whole wheat bread doesn't have much fat in it, but the flour tortilla does. And anytime you add fat to anything, any food, you're slowing down the way it's metabolized in the body. So you're slowing down that sugar release in the body. I like to tell my clients that they say, well, what's better for me? Is it, I always eat, they say, fat-free frozen yogurt. And I always say, stay away from that. If you're going to have ice cream at all, have the real stuff. Because it's full of fat, and the gastric emptying is much slower.
Dr. Lori, does that excite you as much as it excites me? The reason I say that is because if health has got to be enjoyable, it's got to be something we can enjoy. And historically, this low-fat mythology has led us down a path of believing that all we can eat is cabbage soup and celery sticks if we're to be healthy. But if we are free to eat a high-quality carbohydrate and high-quality fat and high-quality protein, just high quality, it seems infinitely doable.
Yes, it is. And like I said before, education is key. So you don't want to eat a lot of, ice cream, and you don't want to eat a lot of, flour tortillas. But the thing about it is, I always say, yes, you can incorporate foods into your diet that are not considered healthy. But you're right, the low-fat craze is still amongst us. People, seriously, 90% of the population is afraid of fat. And fat is our friend. Healthy fat is our friend.
Oh, well, not to mention even just the satisfying effect. You gave the example of that yogurt there, where if you're going to eat the yogurt, the one with the fat, you finish eating it and you're like, oh, okay, yeah, that was good. Like, all right, yeah. Right. Whereas you eat the other kind and you're just like, well, that's kind of hollow.
And, like, for example, this morning I had half an avocado. Okay. Now, most people would shudder in horror at that. But it's not, and I'm slim, I'm not overweight, and I do that all the time. And yes, you can have fat. But it's more important, I would say, overall, to reduce the carbohydrates in the diet to a degree, focus less on carbs and more on protein and other types of carbohydrates like fruits and veggies.
And Dr. Lori,
especially veggies.
And absolutely, we love veggies over here at Smarter Science. You were drawn to this path because you noticed that when people did this, moving away from the starches and sugars and moving more towards nutrient-dense foods, that literally it changed their mind, it seems, in addition to changing their body.
It absolutely does. Because we're not getting the blood sugar spikes with a carb-focused diet. Too many people are addicted to carbs. Too many people, their plate are mostly carbs. And so what's happening, even with the complex whole grain carbs, your blood sugar spikes super high, and then it drops super fast, much like throwing a ball high up into the air and watching it fall rapidly to the ground. That is inflammation in action. And you're triggering insulin excessively. And when that happens, the cells begin to ignore insulin a little bit. So, and if it keeps happening, then you have some serious issues down the road. But the blood sugar spiking and dropping is really a problem for people because it makes you hungry, and and it's triggering insulin, and insulin likes to store fat, and it likes to keep it there. Good old insulin.
Good old insulin. Well, Dr. Lori, I know you're a huge, not fan, but you're a huge fan of combating inflammation. And what's next for you on this journey of mental health, physical health, and anti-inflammatory counseling?
Well, I am in the process of writing another book. My first book, Fire Up Your Fat Burn, is all about losing weight and its relationship to inflammation. My next book is coming out, and it will be called Fatflammation, and it's the direct connection between weight gain and low-level inflammation and how to stop it, reverse it.
Oh, and can you give us, obviously don't give away the farm here, but can you give us a little hint at what that connection is?
Yes, that connection is low-level inflammation. So when we reverse this type of inflammation, weight just melts off. And so it's going to be full of tips and tricks and strategies and something easy for people to apply.
Dr. Lori, I'm very much looking forward to that. It sounds a lot like what we talked about over here in terms of this metabolic clog, where when we just get out of our metabolism's way, for lack of better terms, slim can become simple, interestingly enough.
I love that. Slim can become slim. Simple.
Well, Dr. Lori, thank you so much for joining us today. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you, Jonathan. It was an honor. Thank you.
Listeners, I hope you enjoyed this wonderful conversation as much as I did. Today's guest, again, is Dr. Lori Shemek. You can learn more about her at her website, which is dlshealthworks.com. Again, that's D as in dog, L as in llama, S as in Samuel, healthworks.com. Dr. Lori Shemek. And remember, this week and every week after, eat smarter, exercise smarter, and live better. Chat with you soon.
Wait, don't stop listening yet.
You can get fabulous free SANE recipes over at carriebrown.com.
And don't forget your 100% free eating and exercise quick start program, as well as free, fun, daily tips delivered right into your inbox at bailorgroup.com. That's BAILOR group.com.